All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RickCast episode 141. It is a beautiful July 2nd, 2025, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful middle of the week. A lot of you guys are getting close to your 4th of July weekend, and hopefully you can just kind of push on through to the end. And it is good to see you all. Going to be completely honest with you guys because there's no reason to be I don't know, playful or tacky or any of this other kind of stuff. I'm worn down right now. Don't know why. There's no excuse for it. I haven't done anything too strenuous. So tonight's show I will give you everything I got. Just understand I'm a little worn out tonight. So if I'm not all there, it's not because I don't love you guys. I'm not into it. Just I'm tired today. So all cards on the table for you. Maybe it is the heat, maybe not. Just life. But we're gonna get after it anyway. So we're here though. Here's the thing. I promise you, outside of like my wife having an emergency, me being on vacation, or death, I will be doing this show. I'm never going to take a day off because I'm tired or any of these other kinds of things some of these other people do. But, we're going to get after it. So, Diddy was denied bail. Once again, we're not really into it. It is the main story of the day, so we will give it its lip service and its due because we want to at least know what's going on there. Second, we'll go back to as Congress turns. Looks like large deliveries of pizzas are being brought into Congress as we speak, meaning that it's going to be a long night. And I think it was Mark who said it. Yeah, this thing's not getting passed before the 4th of July. Mark, I appreciate the sentiment, but I think you need to understand if I have a monster at 6 p.m. Central Time, I will not sleep until Friday at 6 p.m. That's not, I can't do this thing, the little monk fruit drink that I do, guys. That's got caffeine in it, and that one will allow me to sleep. No monsters. First of all, I don't drink monsters. Secondly, that type of energy drink is no bueno for me at 6 p.m. at night. Just now I'll never be able to get to sleep. So it is what it is in that regard. So we'll talk about that. UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania has apologized for William Thomas, the guy who thought he was a girl and won all those races. So they're going to actually take all those wins out and ban men from competing in women's sports. So good on that. And then finally, I'll talk to you guys about Jurassic World Rebirth. In case you are not going to be here for that, it is a bad film. It is a really bad film. It is a really bad film. So just understand that. But we're going to talk about that and more. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. My bar rats already know what to do. They're doing it. They're commenting in the comment section. So we have a good day lined up for you. So let's, ladies and gentlemen, get some of our warm-up acts done while we wait for, give people a couple more minutes to get into the place. First warm-up here, our favorite BBL is not happy. We don't like it when the BBLs are not happy, right? We want our BBLs to be happy, and the queen of the BBLs is not. So from thehill.com, Ocasio-Cortez slams the Senate's $25,000 no tax on tips cap. So Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, future President BBL, took aim Wednesday at the $25,000 cap on no tax on tips provision included in the Senate passed version, which is interesting. I thought the House was only 10. Could stop with the ads. As one of the only people who has lived off tips, I want to tell you a bit about the scam of that text, a little bit of the fine print. The cap on that is $25,000, while you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000, while taking away supplement, blah 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 blah. So she has a problem with it, even though, yeah, right. She'll tell you every chance she can get. She was a bartender, before she, did that audition and actually, became the thing that we know as AOC today. So her criticism comes after those on the left sought to make the voting process as uncomfortable as possible, including placing pressure on some Republican holdouts in fringe battleground districts over the sweeping cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps, which is just nonsense. Whatever, I don't care about that. I've lived off it. I was a bartender once. Yeah, I was average at best. I wasn't bad. I wasn't terrible, but I was good. Not great. It's There are people that have they've made a very good living off of being a bartender. If you're good at what you do, then you'll be fine doing it. You'll be sought after. Good bartenders are actually really hard to find. So, of course, AOC has a problem with the $25,000 no tax on tips cap, because essentially it was done by Republicans and didn't come from Democrats, and Democrats only care when it comes from them. So that's why they're upset about it. So let's move on to our next. Yeah, you can. I mean, honestly, there's the advantage of being a bartender. There's the advantage of being living off tips, because you're getting money that day. You're getting money that day, in addition to, you know, whatever your check is, which is like $20 or whatever the case may be. So if you're walking out when I was at a really good, when I was bartending at that hip hop club in Providence called Club Babylon, we used to call it Club Baby Lion. On the because it was like 2 minutes away from Providence College. During the school year, you'd walk out on a Friday night with like $200. You walk out of Friday night, $200, Saturday night, $200. That's $400 in your pocket just for working Friday night and Saturday night. And if you had a job on top of that, it's pretty much a pretty decent living, especially when you're in like college or something like that and you need money, right? You need cash now. Being a bartender or a barback or a waitress is actually not bad, because you get cash immediately and you kind of just figure it out. It's it's getting more difficult nowadays because people aren't eating out as much. Things are becoming more expensive. So yes, it's a little bit more difficult for that. Yeah, if you made like $200 to $400, you were doing pretty well. And if you did that 2 nights a week, you were making more than some people were making a week. And it's also about your time. If you work, Thursday nights are big in college towns. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and you make 200, for those, 200 Thursday, 300 Thursday night, 200 Friday night, 400 Saturday night, you're making almost $1,000. So it's, you can do really well. You can do very, very, very well on it. And like, the deal with the no tax on tip thing's kind of funny, just because most people never really reported it. I didn't report it. I didn't report the money I was making. And if I did, it was a tiny amount of it. So this idea that the whole no tax on tips thing is going to be there anyway, it's just kind of funny that they're making a big deal out of. Just, don't tax the people if they don't want them. You shouldn't be taxing anybody, because we're not. The only thing taxes are at this point in life is inflation control. They're not actually, taxes aren't, building roads or buying, because they're printing all that money. All the spending money that's out there, all the money that's being spent on SNAP and, healthcare and all that, that's all printed. The money that you and I are being taxed on is just taking money out of the system. So inflation is not as bad as it already is. So that's really what taxes are. It's just inflation control. So, I mean, if you think about it, the amount they spend or the amount that they print they print so much money that they have to do that. So RG, I don't know if I don't know if I told this story earlier the week, Monday, but my wife and we went to church on Sunday, and then there was a Mexican restaurant we went to in Jarrell, and the food's fine. The food's decent. The food was it's very good. It's not bad, but I went to pay, and where the screen comes up where it's like, what would you like to tip? The first number was 30%. And I stumbled back. I'm like, 30%? It was like $25 for this thing. You're going to charge me 30%? You want me to give you 30% tip on that? So I gave him like 15%. I was like, nah, you're getting 15%. This is ridiculous. And I looked at my wife and said, if that happens again, we'll go home and I'll make brunch. We got bagels, we got eggs at home. I'll just make it. And because if they're going to expect me to tip them 30% every time, I'm not doing that. You got to do a lot to get 30% from me on a tip. And now it's almost like expected. It's almost like you step into the restaurant and you're supposed to give them like a 10%, 10% tip just to get seated. And then all of these other things. It's ridiculous. Yeah, right? Right? I mean, that turkey club's got to be like amazing. And most of the time, they're just kind of like average. So it's not up to the expectations of yeah, dude, I'm sorry. No, the gall of these people to be like, you gotta start at 30%. No, that's not gonna work for me. I'll decide what I tip and then we'll go there. RG, back, I don't know why you're laughing. Back in the day, 15% was actually the middle tier. It was 10, 15, 20. It was 10, 15, 20%. So now 15% is laughable. I don't accept that. I don't accept that in any way, shape, or form. The expectation that I'm just going to give you money, that I'm just going to get, oh, you showed up, you poured a thing of water, and I already knew what I wanted, so you didn't give me the specials. You wrote down and then moved on. Yeah, I usually do pretty good. I'm usually a decent tipper, but don't come at me like you are going to give me 30%, because if you're going to say you're going to give me 30%, I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not, sweetie, because that's entitlement. So no thanks. So it is what it is in that regard. So it's, I know, maybe a controversial statement, but that's one of the few times I usually tip 15%. Usually I do 15 or 20. Like I'll do 20 in my hometown if I go to one of my hometown restaurants. Because they're local, they're in town. I like to support the people in my actual town, so I'll tip a little bit higher than normal. Everywhere else, it's somewhere between 15 and 20. I'll do, where it's like, what about the ones where it's like 12, 15, and 18%? That's always crazy. Like, oh, well, you're not going to 20, so I'll give you that. But tipping culture, and I'm not one of these people like, as a person who's lived off tips, and it looks like a lot of y'all in the chat have lived off tips as well. Back in the day, I would always be happy if I was working at the bar. If I got $1 from every person I worked at, if every person gave me $1 that I served at the nightclub, it was going to be a good night. I never my minimum was like, hey man, if I serve 200 people and every person gives me $1, it's going to be a good night. Maybe sometimes you work a little harder, you flirt a little bit, you get like $3 or $4 or whatever the case may be. That's great. But the idea that it's like, okay, I'm working here or whatever the case may be, this is my minimum. Because people give you like 25 cents or 50, keep the change at 75 cents. It's like, okay, you're a dickhead. But $1 used to be the minimum that I would be happy with. Not expect, but be happy with. Like, all right, I get, $20 or $1 on a, serving a beer. It'd be pretty decent. So I guess that's kind of just different when, yeah. Yes, we all know who the worst tippers are, and I don't think we need to talk about it. Moving on to our next story, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of the House and Congress and all these things that are happening there, I just want you to know that when the founders, since, we're going to be celebrating the 4th of July on Friday, Independence Day, even though everybody says secession is evil, but yet we'll celebrate secession on Friday. Just, think that through. The founders never intended the person I'm about to show you to ever have a position within the government. I give you Nancy Mace, who is bringing the single mom energy to everything. So she decided
on the road again,
that she was going to dress in her skanky little pajamas and go to Congress in her pajamas because she is the ultimate single mom who's just so desperate for attention. And the founders are spinning, and I'm not even a huge fan of the founders necessarily. The founders are spinning so hard in their graves right now, they could probably power New York City. But the fact of the matter is, this woman should not be any way, shape. Like, Republicans scream about Fetterman in his gym shorts. At least that's, decent enough. This woman, it's always, don't sexualize me. And then she's walking around in her PJs. It's, come on, man.
Seeing things that I may never see again. And I can't wait to get on the road again.
Okay, just over and over and over again. Yeah, you went to a Wawa. Congratulations. You're the first woman in history to go to a gas station at night. But it's just so and I know it's so sad that that's a cliche now, but it is so tiresome. All of the nonsense that she does. And the fact that we have to deal with this. This is why Congress doesn't do things. This is why Congress is not successful. Oh, because we're going to be here all night. I'm going to come into my pajamas. Have a little bit of professionalism. Okay? Just try for 5 seconds to not make it about you. If you could do that, that'd be great. Thanks. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to our first story of the night. This is not a story we are going to cover. We are not going to talk about it a lot. It is just the news of the day, so we are going to cover it as such. Diddy was denied bail and will remain in jail until his sentencing. Video.
Working to meet President Trump's.
Oh, wrong video. Video.
Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
Okay, that's
well, I don't know if that's getting it. Let's use this one.
Let's get Jeremy here.
Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there was a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. He nodded vigorously.
Of course.
Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that one works. And Jeremy, if you'll come in here
Jeremy.
too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Sallin is with us. He's a criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor. And the bail, the news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So there is the law, the statute says in substance that bail would be denied, meaning that he goes and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge, and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and ROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do and fighting this from the outside in terms of preparing for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and seemed obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars, and they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you, and that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for, and generally speaking, barring some exception, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from the public's perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt, and summarily, we're not talking about on the cusp. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence, but he's still in custody.
Okay, so Jeremy, can we just ask Jeremy, was it a difficult decision for the judge legally?
I think the judge is, no, I think the judge is not finding any exception and following the law, and that's why he's staying there. The hope from the prosecution, though they didn't, the defense, though they didn't raise it specifically in their letter to the court, was that, yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution relied on, said statutorily, you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, the defense was hoping that the judge would look past that and say, he's returned, he just shows that he can follow the court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process now that the defense will have to go through in order to appeal the judge's decision of no bail?
I would expect that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, appeal or not. I think that they're going to follow the judge. I haven't heard what the judge said, so it's hard for me to just speak on an island here, but based on the law as we know it, I think the judge has ample ground to stand on and make this decision.
Yeah, so I don't know how deep y'all want to get into this. I don't. Oh, there I am. It's literally this. He was denied bail. He'll remain in there until the actual sentencing. Evidence included 7 weeks of court testimonials from Cassie Ventura and Jane detailing coercion, which we talked about yesterday. He faces up to 20 years in prison. Essentially, what he's doing is he's being thrown under the bus. He was installed, as Cat Williams likes to say or said, to push hip hop. He was there to push that culture, to show that lifestyle, and to convince pretty much young kids that was a career path. Now that he has outlived his usefulness, i.e. he's old, he can no longer influence the youth as he used to be able to. Now they're just going to put him in jail. Now they're just going to toss him in jail. So we'll see where this goes. It's interesting. Most people just kind of checked out of this case because it was all about like baby oil and all of the freaky perverted stuff. And people thought it was a lot more going to be connected, kind of like an Epstein thing. Oh, he's connected to the power players and this and that. And then they're like, oh, he's just a pervert. Never mind. And that's kind of the way this is shaking out. He's a pervert. He was, I don't want to say demonically possessed. Maybe he was, obsessed. And this is the consequences of playing with the devil. You want to dance with the devil? You want to get all of the supposed quote unquote gifts or pleasures from doing these things? Well, guess what? You got to pay the piper in the end. And that's what he's doing. There's really not a lot here. Just an update for y'all because this show is topical and it does deal with the news stories of the day. And that's it. So this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, ladies and gentlemen. Oop, wrong one. Put me back up. There we go. As we move on to our next one, we'll probably talk about this one a little bit more. And that is simply As the House Turns, which is the House is to vote on Senate version of Trump's bill amid the division in the GOP. And they wanted to get this thing passed by the 4th of July. That's not happening. So let's take a look at what's going on there.
Of July 4th to get his budget bill
Back.
Right now, Congress is working to meet President Trump's deadline of July 4th to get his budget bill to his desk. Good evening. I'm Sherry Jackson.
And I'm Carly Lang. The bill, which is now back in the House, includes steep cuts to health care and SNAP benefits. CBS 42 Washington correspondent Vinay Simlot explains where it stands.
Both the Senate and the House have passed their versions of the big, beautiful bill, but every time one of the chambers changes it, the other has to vote to approve those changes. Right now, the bill is with the House and in flux.
Hey, everybody, I guess you want a progress report? I don't know.
It's Speaker Mike Johnson and the House's turn to get enough Republican agreement to pass the so-called big, beautiful bill. House members rushed back to D.C. after the Senate passed its version on Tuesday.
Flights up and down the East Coast are being canceled.
My flight just got canceled.
But thunderstorms and flight cancellations delayed the initial debates. Meantime, House Democrats say they're doing what they can to stall the vote, attaching amendments and creating a conga line of opposition.
I yield to the gentleman from Georgia. Yield to the gentleman from Mississippi.
Billionaires, the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot stand for it.
And while most Republicans say they support the big, beautiful bill,
this bill delivers economic relief, fiscal sanity, and basic fairness.
The chair of the budget-conscious House Freedom Caucus says the Senate's changes to the bill add to the deficit, and a block of Republican members can't support them.
The leadership knows it will fail.
President Trump met with Republican holdouts at the White House on Wednesday.
I'm not sure if I'm going to the woodshed or not. I've been summoned by the president.
Those Republican holdouts say the big, beautiful bill passed by the Senate adds too much to the deficit. They say along the lines of $750 billion. Meantime, Democrats say they're against this bill because of Medicaid cuts. The Congressional Budget Office says about 11.8 million Americans could lose coverage. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlot. Back to you.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Anyway, so you got the issues that are going on for those gun owners that are trying to figure out these kinds of things. What about what's going on with the Short Act?
All right, you beautiful bastions of freedom. I need you guys to send this one out because something just happened and it's really important to understand for the Hearing Protection Act and for the Short Act. Right now, there's a list of 10 Republicans in the House who are not okay with voting for the big, beautiful bill. That is well beyond the threshold of them failing or scuttling the vote, okay? Andrew Clyde is one of them. Thomas Massey is one of them. And Andrew Ogles is one of them. All right, Ogles literally said, I'm going to put an amendment to scuttle this entire thing because it's a crap sandwich. That's what he said. Andrew Clyde is one of the no's. He has the ability to flex and get the HPA and the Short Act in there. And Thomas Massey, well, let's just say Trump screwed that one up with Massey. All right, let's leave that alone. Clyde has an opportunity. Send this one out. Check out the GOA profile on X so you can get all the numbers. Call in because Clyde has an opportunity to hold this thing for the HPA and the short. Scare this out.
So if you're one of those people like me and you want the Hearing Protection Act, which would get suppressors off the NFA, and the Short Act, which would get the SBRs off of the NFA, this is great. I hope this thing gets held up well into August. And I hope that Clyde and a couple of the other Republicans can stand firm and get those things back in there. And we said it yesterday. I really like the idea of the House going to war with the Senate over the bill. That's kind of, and the MAGA guys are like, Thomas Massey's a loser because he won't vote for it. This guy's a loser because he won't vote for it. You got to get on board with Trump's. Shut up. The House and the Senate are not supposed to rubber stamp anything. They're supposed to vote. And they're supposed to work for their constituents. So it is what it is. I'm not in the mood tonight. What? Is that because I'm a short, cantankerous man? It's actually called the Short Act. So I don't know what's funny about that, Mark. And now, in case you're just getting that, congratulations, pat yourself on the back. But it's the HBA and the Short Act, which gets SBRs actually off of. So, you did. You know what, Mark? Do me a favor. I told you I wasn't in the mood for it tonight. Don't. Next. So going back into it. Yeah. You know what? I'm pretty cool with the short jokes most of the time. Ain't in the mood for it tonight. You know what? Is that because I have a Napoleon complex and I'm a little guy? Maybe. But at least I'm honest about it. So you have Massey, who's going to war with some of these guys, and he's making his bones known because the spending is too much and all these other things are going on too much. Yeah, and that's okay. I don't care that he's not in line with Trump. He's not supposed to work for Trump. Trump flips back and forth on politicians. One day he loves you, one day he hates you. He was just in Florida 2 days ago kissing Ron DeSantis's, high top boots about how he loves Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSantis is great. Last year he was calling him a little midget. So it's like, and Trump has put out letter after letter previously, about how he loves Thomas Massey. So it's one thing or another. And it's just kind of ridiculous. It's Republican spending, so it's good spending. As Cesare has said, it's only good because we're spending the money. When the Democrats spend the money, it's going to be bad. So if, the whole thing gets shot to kingdom come, doesn't matter because Republicans tried to save the Republic by do it. Yeah, the money is there, man. The smorgasbord is available. Get your beak wet and go after it while you absolutely can. It's not like any of this stuff is going to save us. Some politician today sent out a message on X and it said, "What do you feel about the national deficit?" And I'm on an honest hit right now. I told him, I sent a message, I quote tweet him. I said, theoretically, I'm supposed to tell you that the deficit is one of the most important things to me, but I don't care about the deficit because it's too late. I think it's cute, and I applaud Massey for still like bringing it up and making people known about the spending and all that, and Rand Paul about the spending, but there's no way we're getting out of this. Let me know in the comment section if you disagree. I'm not even trying to blackpill. I just think there's no way out of this. We have spent ourselves into oblivion. And the way they're going to get out of that is they're going to convert everything over. They're going to make the national currency, not the dollar. They're going to make the national currency some kind of stable coin. We've all talked about that on this program. We've all talked about that on this program, how the deficit is just going to have either 2030, it could be 2030 mark, it could be 2035. That train is a coming. There's no way we can get out of that. And it's the entitlement spending. It's the fact that we're just blowing money to, we're printing it and throwing it to Israel. We're doing all this other kind of stuff. And, people are still fighting. Oh, we can close the deficit. Doge is going to save us. None of that stuff's going to do it. Not to blackpill, but it's just kind of saying no. Very interesting point, Michael. The fiat system is designed to fail. The cycle of any reserve fiat currency is 80 to 110. We're at 114. Yeah, and we've been quantitative easing for what? 2018 to 2000. Was it 2007? W did it because it was at the end of his term, right before Obama showed up, because of the Wall Street crash. And that's when we started. At least that's when they told us quantitative easing was started. So they've been doing it for what? 14, 15, 6, 17 years? Almost 20 years of quantitative easing. So you can take that 114 and subtract 20 from it. And so it is what it is. If you look at the actual value of the dollar, it's absolutely disgusting. Where's the inflation calculator? Yep, everybody loves the inflation calculator. Let's see. Let's say $100 in, would you say 1975? Let's do that. Has the same buying power in May of 2025. If you had $100 in 1975, that would be sick. That'd be close to $1,000, $617. People have no idea how much we've lost as far as, wages have stagnated. We can't keep up with it. So even let's be a little bit more realistic. What about like 1995? That's over $200 that you've lost. So it's absolutely just it's a nonsensical argument when people are arguing about the deficit. I appreciate them just out of the principle of it, but in the end, it's a foolish concept. They won't do anything about the debt until they have no other options, and most people in government are dead or close to it. So yeah, that's true. They don't have to worry about the debt or the deficit because they'll just spend their way out of it. We will be Zimbabwe with their $1 trillion bills. That's right. They're getting rid of pennies, and we've talked about it on this program. Amazon and Walmart are doing stable coin. MasterCard has a backdoor for their own stable coin. 2030, Mark mentioned 2030. 2030 would be a great time for them to say, listen, we're going to just transition. The national currency is not the dollar anymore. It's not paper money for environmental reasons, like all that kind of nonsense. We're going to transition to a stable coin. It's going to be easier and faster for you to get paid. You don't have to worry about it. No more money, no more checks. You just get your money bloop into your account that day. And because a lot of people are going broke out there, because a lot of people, they'll be like, yes, just give me whatever, just whatever it takes. Just give me the money so I'm fine. And it's one of those things that people are just struggling to survive. They're struggling to survive. There's a whole thing about the McRecession or the fast food recession. And ironically enough, McDonald's doesn't even care because they're a real estate company. It's not even a fast food company. If you saw the movie The Founder. So it is what it is. Your friend built the stablecoin infrastructure. That's interesting. Would your friend consent to an interview about it? I would love to talk to him about that because that's something that I see stablecoin as the CBDC of the West. Because a central digital bank currency is easy. Yeah, ask him, Michael. Central digital bank currency is, he can do anonymous. We can disguise his voice if he's worried about any of that kind of stuff. We can do all that kind of stuff if he doesn't want to be identified. But I think stablecoin is how the West is going to get their central digital bank currency because it'll be done through capitalism. That's how they do these things. It's always done through capitalism. It's never done through the actual government. So it is what it is in that regard. You can pry the cash out of my cold dead hand. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, because one thing we've all been talking about, and you'll notice when Trump came in, he signed the executive order banning central digital bank currency. And I said, and we were on this program when I said it, guys, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that the government won't do it. They'll just get they'll get private corporations to do it instead. Just like private corporations held the government's hand during the COVID times. So the people who think that, well, a private corporation ain't, please, these crony capitalists, they're going to walk hand in hand with the government because they all have the same goal in mind. So yeah, that's what we're looking at as far as Congress turns and what's going on in Congress as of right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we are doing. If you have your precious metals, make sure you stack gold, silver, platinum, and lead, and seeds. I know seeds are not a metal, but seeds are food. Food is good. And whatever you can grow, just grow it. All right, let's see here. Moving on to our next story of the night. UPenn to apologize for allowing William Thomas to compete on the women's team. Luckily, I have another video. Go!
For women's sports, as UPenn agrees to follow President Trump's mandate and ban transgender women from female sports teams. The Ivy League school will also revoke trans swimmer Lia Thomas of her titles, and all female athletes displaced by Thomas will be reinstated and get a written apology from the school. Thomas's former teammates. We have Margot Kaczorowski. We also have Ellen Holmquist. They've both filed a lawsuit against the university earlier this year, and they're also joined by their attorney, Bill Bott. Good morning to all of you.
Morning.
Morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, Margot, I'll start with you because you were in two of the same events as Lia Thomas. You were denied your win because Lia was competing, your recognition. So how does this new news affect you?
Yeah, so I try to think about it more on like a broader scale because I'm really not doing this for myself or anything. What I went through was hard enough, but really I'm doing this for the future generation of girls to go through the program, to go through D1 athletics, and I really want just what's best for them. So I would like for women's rights to be upheld to the utmost standard and for those titles and records to come down.
Is this enough for you, what they did?
It's a good starting point, and I'm really grateful for the Trump administration and what they are doing to protect women. But there's so much more to go.
Oh no, that lady's
they
the lady's got a deeper voice than I do.
The federal government forcing them. So I think we have a long way to go to make sure that women's rights are upheld and policies are in place to ensure the verification process that it's only females in women's sports.
Okay, now Ellen, you were left off the 2022 Ivy Championship team roster because Lia Thomas participated. You missed that by one spot. So
you got to realize they're going to use the politically correct name because they don't want to get crap. Fox is not your friend. Fox is just propaganda. So they're going to use the fake name just so they can say that.
This latest news doesn't mean that you're competing again. It doesn't mean that can change that. How do you feel?
I think this is a good step in the right direction. Like Margot said, I'm really doing this for future Penn swimmers, future young girls that want to compete in college sports and make sure that this situation that happened to me never happens to someone else in the future. But there are still a lot of steps that need to be taken by Penn and other universities that have been going down this path. So I'm excited to see the change and appreciate the administration and the help of icons with this.
Okay, Bill, you were the lead attorney in the investigation of Lance Armstrong. You have a lot of experience with sports laws and Title IX cases. What do you think about this?
Well, the interesting thing, Ainsley, is that at the same time they're telling President Trump at the University of Pennsylvania that they're for women and women's sports and they're going to protect them. They're fighting Margot and Ellen and their teammate Grace in court, and they have an acknowledged responsibility in court. So we're seeing very inconsistent positions from the University of Pennsylvania, and which is why we're continuing to pursue the lawsuit against the school.
Yeah, we're all wondering if other schools will follow suit. Why do you think, what did it? I know that President Trump and the Department of Education, they were the ones going after UPenn. What changed UPenn's mind?
Well, more than $100 million was on the line. And I think they simply made a decision to say what the president wanted them to say and make a commitment. But it's not a binding commitment. That's why we're continuing the lawsuit, to get a judge to tell them what Title IX means and tell them to stop changing your position and have one position of protecting, defending women and their opportunities like the law requires.
Margot and Ellen, the school says they're going to send personalized apology letters to the affected female swimmers. Have either of you received a letter? Margot, I'll start with you.
Yes, I did receive a letter last night, and while they, are kind of acknowledging what went on that year, they're really not taking, full accountability the way that I wish that they would. And I think that they have an opportunity here if they're going to accept responsibility to then work with us, work with girls who actually want to see change and ensure that women's rights are protected going forward, but they're not doing that. They're still fighting us. I'm hoping that they can kind of get on that path.
Okay, Ellen, how about you? Did you receive a letter?
I also did receive a letter in that same vein. It was more so passing the blame onto the NCAA, saying they were abiding the rules at that time, and these are the rules at this time, so it wouldn't be allowed now. But it's really not acknowledging the fact that that was completely wrong in the time of 2022. So I'm hoping that things start to change and they take this opportunity to take full responsibility in court.
Yeah, I'm sorry it didn't change things for you, ladies, but I am glad for the future generations. Thank you so much. Margot, Ellen, Bill, thanks for getting up early for us.
Thank
you, Ainsley.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, here we go. Yeah, it's great, I guess, for future women. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the entire women in competing in sports type of stuff, blah 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 blah. But it is what it is in that regard, and you can take it or leave it. The fact of the matter is, as we pointed out, people are only doing it for the money. This is a money issue, and that's why it's looking this way. And great, I'm happy about it because I don't want to see men in women's locker rooms. I don't want to see that perversion taking place. So that's good. That's obviously the thing that we all want to happen in the end, but I don't really care, honestly. Maybe just because I'm black pilled tonight, but I don't care about a lot of that stuff. It's great that they did it, so females are at least protected while they're in college if they choose to go to college. But there's evidence to prove a little bit that no, actually there's no evidence, so I'm not going to say that. It's the false dichotomy that women who competed in sports have a tougher time. I know it's gymnasts have a tougher time having children because they're just so certain ways. It is what it is. Great for them. Great job. Moving on. I got nothing left on that here on RickCast. So last thing I want to talk about here on the program tonight is my review of Jurassic World Rebirth, Afterbirth. It's actually Rebirth, but I've been calling it Afterbirth. I'll give you some moving pictures while I talk about it. So the movie came out today. It's one of the first 3 of the big July season. And the big July season is this movie, Jurassic World Rebirth. Then there's Superman, which comes out on July 11th. And then there is Fantastic Four at the end of the month. And this one has come out today. I went to the first showing I could. I'll tell you this much. The estimates that people were throwing out, I think they will probably be wrong. There were a lot of kids. Now, the way they do the tracking is with people who are buying tickets online and stuff like that in general interest. There were a lot of kids at this movie. The theater was essentially packed. Now, it wasn't a big theater, but still, it was a 12:10 showing on a Wednesday, and it was packed. So I think this movie will probably overperform the estimates. I don't think it'll still be any good, but I think it'll overperform the estimates. I don't know how good it'll do next week because it's not a very good film, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the synopsis of Jurassic World Rebirth is that it has been 5 years since the end of Jurassic World Dominion, right? 2022. Now it's the dinosaurs that were loose around the world. They're all dead. They're all dead or dying because the climate is it's not a climate change. They didn't expressly say climate change, but the climate's different. There's not as much air, blah, blah, blah. So they all went back to the equator. There's this little stretch around the equator where there's more air and there's more tropical. It's closer to the environment that they lived in whenever they lived back in, the Jurassic times. So now they're all there. Great. That's your explanation as where the hell the dinosaurs went. So the dinosaurs all retreated back to the equator because they can't live in New York City. So Scarlett Johansson is introduced as this. Remember, Scarlett Johansson is like 5'3", maybe 115 pounds. And she's like the spec ops, special forces girl. And by the and she's got charisma, and she's you know, it's an easy part for her, but she doesn't sleepwalk through it. It's an easy check. She doesn't do a lot. She doesn't break a sweat, but she's very bubbly in this movie. She's especially bubbly, which is surprising for somebody who's supposed to be like a hardened special forces, you know, operative. Anyway, she gets approached by evil corporate white guy because, of course, evil corporate white guy. And evil corporate white guy wants to get blood from the 3 biggest dinosaurs they can find, one from the air, one from the ground, and one from the water. Why? I don't know. They don't explain it. So they go find a nerdy museum guy to be their advisor, even though he's never been outside of a museum because they couldn't get Chris Pratt to come back because he was too expensive. So they just brought this guy in because he was cheaper. So they go to the equator, and they meet up Mahershala Ali, who's one of Scarlett Johansson's like former Marsoc whatever, and they get in a boat and they go there. Meanwhile, there's a sailboat with a family that's just like sailing through the dino waters. They are sailing through. Now, the whole world knows that the dinosaurs are in the equator. That's just common knowledge. This guy sails a boat through the dino waters with his little 30-foot sailboat, thinking he's going to be fine. He's got his 2 daughters. His oldest daughter is bringing her boyfriend, who it is implied that there are relations going on. You can, if you ever decide to watch the film, you can figure that out. But they get attacked by a mosasaur, or the big fish dinosaur. And I was kind of, by the way, the family is annoying. They're terrible. They're useless. Every time they were on screen, I'm like, please just die. Just get eaten by something. It would just make my life so much better. But they don't. Then Scarlett Johansson's team rescues the family. They all go to the island, and hijinks ensue as they try to get the 3. Of course, they split up. They split up one because that's the classic thing they do. They got to split the teams up so they can do 2 different stories, which both stories were terrible. So let's just smash them together and see what happens. The family's trying to find the base so they can call for a radio, and ScarJo and her crack team of people are going to go find the dinosaurs, which they do with relative ease, by the way. There's literally no challenge to this. And they walk around the island. T-Rex makes his appearance. You know, he makes his cameo. He gets paid. T-Rex shows up, roars, tries to bite some people, and leaves. That's it. He's in the movie for like 10 minutes. You got like retarded Saurus. They call it the D-Rex. They might as well called it the R-Rex because it was retarded. You don't see that until the end of the movie, by the way. And then you have like a big giant pterodactyl thing. I don't know dinosaurs, man. It's flying around. This whole film is just dumb. And I get it. Jurassic Park movies, the Jurassic franchise outside of the first movie, are not cinematic masterpieces. This one is bad. The first 45 minutes, we're dealing with character development and getting introduced to these people. And I'm thinking to myself, can we just get on the stupid island, please? I'm not here to watch Scarlett Johansson try to mush out whatever ChatGPT script was put together for her. Like, there's a moment they're sitting in the boat, her and Mahershala Ali, and they're talking. I'm like, I don't care. And then, some of the red shirts, right, from the Star Trek line, the red shirts, a couple of them get eaten, and it's supposed to be a big deal. And it's like, I don't care that these people die. the music's playing. Oh, I can't believe these people died. I'm like, I've known them for 3 minutes. I don't care. They're fodder. Die. And so it is long. It is boring. As you can tell, it's putting me to sleep. And it's just, and I'm going to use the joke, this franchise is long in the tooth. This franchise should be extinct because it's just not, there's no more ideas here. We got to get the dinosaur DNA so we can make a pharmaceutical drug to help people. That's what we're going to go with. We're going to make it. We're doing this for dino DNA for pharmaceutical drugs. Okay. Yeah, there's no reason for this franchise to exist except for the fact that little kids like dinosaurs. And that's what this movie is made for. Jurassic World menopause. Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of ripoffs from the first film. There's a lot of it's a movie without a purpose. It's a movie without a purpose. And it's just, I don't know what else to tell you. This movie's slop. My rating system is fine dining, American diner, or slop. This is straight slop. Now, if your kids love dinosaurs, if your kids are between the ages of 9 to 12, they'll love this film. They'll love it. Dinosaurs go scream and woo, look at the things, but everybody else is just going, I can't believe I just paid $20 to do this. So it is what it is in that regard. But I wouldn't even stream it. I honestly, unless you're a huge fan of the Jurassic franchise and you just like the world and the concept, maybe you would watch it. But outside of that, there's no reason to watch. You're getting nothing out of this film, right? There's nothing there. So it is what it is in that regard. It's a slop film. It's just this is the entire T-Rex cameo. He shows up, he runs up and down the river for 10 minutes, he roars, and then he leaves. I even think the T-Rex was just give me my paycheck and let me leave. So this film is slop. I wouldn't even bother to watch it. If you like the dinosaur movie thing, enjoy it, but you're not getting a lot out of this. So, not that you were at the beginning. AMC is now making the first 30 minutes after start time. Yeah. Yep. They have to. That's the only way AMC's, that's their business model now. They have to do commercials or else they'll go out of business. They have no choice. They have to do it that way. So it's pretty terrible. Also, they did a commercial for, they showed the first minute trailer for the Christopher Nolan movie, The Odyssey, that's coming out next year. It's just John Bernthal being John Bernthal, which I'm fine with, but it was still pretty entertaining. Yeah, they just keep going back to the one well. They just keep going back to the one well because that's the one. Dinosaurs make money, so go make dinosaur movies. Yeah, I mean, even Jeff Goldblum was like, I'm not doing this anymore, so. No, that movie would actually be better than what I just saw. So don't get it twisted. That would be much, much better than what I was just put through. All right, folks, I'm going to call it a night tonight. So that is it for this episode of RickCast. Do me a favor. I absolutely messed up last night. My interview with Crash Cannon was last night. So go check it out on his page. I'll drop a link if you want to in the chat, so you can check out the interview that I did with Crash Cannon. Chris was really good. I absolutely recommend it. He's a good dude, and check out his channel. That's a link to the interview. Dropping it there. If you have the time. We went for about 2 hours, which was pretty impressive because I don't like doing long interviews. I just don't. I'm such a diva that I don't even like doing that stuff, but I was happy to go 2 hours with him. So check it out. Crash Cannon, that's his channel. It was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend his channel to check out because he's a good dude. He's a good dude doing some good stuff. And I totally blew it last night. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I absolutely blew this. And he was like, don't worry about it. So he was very good about all of that. So check it out. Links in the description down below. I will see you tomorrow where we do my double dip. I'll do this show, and then I'll do News from the Pew with Steve tomorrow night here on RickCast. So thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me here on RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell on your way out. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for putting up with my even more cantankerous or just grumpy nature than usual. Anyway, I will talk to you all tomorrow. You stay safe out there. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.